So here's a wild thought. What if the Bible wasn't just a book of spiritual ideas? What if it was more like a literal prescription for your physical and mental health? I know, it's a bold idea, but it's one that has some seriously ancient roots and, as we're about to see, some really fascinating parallels in modern neuroscience. Okay, let's get into this. And that's really the core question we're diving into. Is this ancient text more than just inspiration? Could it actually be a working formula for our total well-being? You see, the foundation of this whole idea is that Scripture isn't just offering up some friendly advice. It's actually presenting itself as a powerful working formula for health. This verse from Proverbs is really the bedrock of the whole idea, and notice how incredibly specific it is. It doesn't just promise something for your soul or your spirit. It explicitly says health to one's whole body. So, and this is a huge deal, this ancient wisdom sees absolutely no separation between the two. It treats our spiritual state and our physical health as completely interconnected. One literally impacts the other. Now, like any medicine, this prescription comes with very specific instructions. You can't just have the bottle sitting on the shelf and expect to get better, right? It only works if you actually follow the directions, and it requires you to be an active participant. And these instructions are so interesting because they're not just about thinking. They're multisensory. First, you have to pay attention with your mind. Then you listen with your ears. Then you have to actually see them, keep the words in front of your eyes. And finally, you have to internalize them, let them sink deep down inside. It's a process that's designed to engage your entire being. And this is just so crucial. The whole point of this active, multisensory process is that it literally begins to shape your inner world. What you consistently hear, what you see, what you even speak out loud, that's what starts to form your reality. Just, silently nodding along isn't enough to unlock what these words can do. All right, so you do all this. Then what? What's the payoff? Well, the text promises three main outcomes. It brings peace, it brings light, and it brings a restoration of order to your inner world. Let's just focus on that idea of light for a second. Think about it. Light doesn't really argue with darkness, does it? It just shows up and poof, the darkness is gone. It's the same idea here. When your mind is filled with truth, things like fear and anxiety and confusion, well, they just start to lose their power. So the promised result isn't some vague, fuzzy feeling. It's a really targeted solution, a sense of calm to replace anxiety, a clarity to cut right through confusion, and a reordering of your internal world from chaos to harmony. And this is where things get really, really cool. This ancient description of restoring order inside a person is now being explained in the language of modern neuroscience. It's almost like spirituality and science are using different words to describe the very same reality. Okay, so the key scientific idea we need to get our heads around is called neuroplasticity. And all that really means is that your brain isn't set in stone. It can literally change, it can rewire itself, and it can form new pathways based on what you repeatedly focus on and experience. So let's look at a direct comparison. You know that verse, "Be still and know that I am God"? Well, it turns out that's not just a nice poetic thought. It is a direct instruction for your body. The stillness is what science calls activating your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest state that pulls you out of a stress response and brings your body back into a state of calm. And check this one out. For 2,000 years, people read the instruction to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and it just sounded like a purely spiritual concept. But guess what? Today, science has a name for that exact process. It's neuroplasticity. You are literally forging new, healthier pathways in your brain every time you focus your thoughts. This verse is basically describing a neurological process. Anxiety, a lot of the time, thrives on those mental thought loops that just go round and round and round. By anchoring your attention, by staying your mind on one thing, you literally interrupt those anxious loops, creating a state of, well, perfect peace. It's an incredibly practical strategy for mental health. And what about the phrase, "a cheerful heart is good medicine"? This isn't just about trying to smile more. Science shows us that a cheerful heart, what we now call emotional resilience, is a state of mind built on hope and trust that literally supports physical healing. It helps your nervous system bounce back faster from stress. So when you see all these parallels, they start pointing to something even deeper. This isn't just about learning a new mental technique. It's about tapping into the way we were actually designed to function from the very beginning. When Jesus says, "My sheep hear my voice," it might be way more than just a sweet metaphor. The idea here is that this specific voice carries a unique signature, a kind of frequency of safety and authority that your nervous system can literally recognize out of all the noise and chaos. And this is what it all boils down to. When your nervous system finds that place of safety and calm, science has a word for it: regulation. But for thousands of years, scripture has had another word for that exact same state: peace. They're talking about the same thing, that beautiful restoration of order. So when you engage with scripture in that active, multisensory way, you're not just cramming your head with information. You're actually training your body to remember a truth that your spirit was created to know all along, that at your core, you are fundamentally safe. Which leaves us with one last question to just sit with. If both ancient wisdom and modern science are pointing to the power of a specific voice to bring order to our inner chaos, then what if your body is just waiting to hear the very voice it was created to trust?